Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nico from Porch Talk. I just wanted to tell you guys, hey, thank you so much for your support. Really goes a long way. Sorry to interrupt the episode at the beginning. I just want to let you know, if you could leave a rating and review specifically on iTunes, it really goes a long way. It really helps the channel grow, really helps the podcast get to more people. And yeah, I love you all. Thank you so much for your support. I'm loving doing these episodes, and so is Marcus. And yeah, please rate, review on iTunes, and love you all. Enjoy. Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Nico.
And this is Marcus.
And welcome to Porch Talk. Today we have Seabrook, Cameron Seabrook, Elijah Seabrook. He is a singer-songwriter. He raps, he sings. Again, he makes his own songs. His story was really interesting, honestly. If you would have noticed at the beginning of this, we had part of his song playing as our intro. You'll find out later in the episode that he allowed us to do that. But such a cool guy, super down to earth.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal person, and he makes absolutely phenomenal music. And as you'll hear, he has a bit of a surprise for everybody regarding his album that might be coming out pretty soon. So give it a listen.
Tell me about your life. Tell me where you grew up. Tell me everything that got you to the point you are today.
And in the lines of music, or
in the lines of where you're at, where you want to go.
So I grew up here in Dayton, Ohio, and my environment kind of growing up was I grew up in a split household. So my parents weren't together and things like that, and that caused a lot of friction and tension just throughout my whole adolescence. But beyond that, I would say the reason I've started going into the direction that I'm going is just that I've always been a very ambitious person, and my mentality is you have to go after what you want and what you love in life. And me kind of having that mentality and looking up to people who had that mentality, and famous people or athletes, whatever it may have been, kind of molded me to be the person that I am, because I kind of grew up in an environment where I didn't have a lot of male role models or male leadership, so I kind of sought after that in other things, like in music, and through that it kind of created that, hey, I think I like doing music too, I think I like doing these things too, and just started from a young age, molding me from there.
Yeah, so with that, along the way, how many mentors have you came across and that you hold near and dear to your heart because of that whole void that you needed to fill?
So as far as mentors are concerned, I didn't really have any growing up, which is kind of weird. It wasn't till I got to a little bit older, till about about 18 years old, that I met a trainer who's very close to me and helps me just with soccer and my state of mind, and just continue to grow and push myself. And that's a person I know that I can always turn to in whatever situation, you know what I mean?
So when you say you looked up to various musicians and and artists or folks out in the sports world as well, give me an artist that you really looked up to as a kid.
Some people may hate on me because people sometimes don't like this artist, but Logic was one of them. And he came out with a string of mixtapes back in 2011, 12, 13, around that time period, and those mixtapes were just so inspiring to me. And I think really in the lines of music, that's what really made me want to be a musician also.
For real? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was out back then.
Yeah, so I would say I've been a follower of him since the beginning. I don't like some of his newer music as much, but I've been a follower of him since the jump, yeah.
What was so special about Logic? Tell me.
I would say with his music back then is that it was on a different wave than most of the other music that I heard at the time. It was on the wave of be positive and we're all created equal, and to do what you love in life, and that was the message that resonated with me.
That's amazing, man.
Now, you were talking a lot about your about sports and soccer and your mentor there. How has playing soccer and exercising transitioned into your music?
It's taught me discipline. For when you're crafting your body, it takes hard work and it takes dedication, and you don't always immediately see the results of that. You'll be like, I've been doing this, I've done this push up, whatever it may be, I've done this exercise a million times, and I'm not really seeing results. But it's taught me to be consistent, because consistency is what brings results, and it's what allows you to reach your goals. It's like the saying, if you're eating a bowl of cereal, for example, you eat it one little bite at a time, and it's the same thing when you're reaching your goals.
That's an awesome analogy.
Yeah.
I fuck with that analogy pretty heavy, actually.
Yeah.
But tell me a little about your athletic career, your athletic background. I know we played high school together, but past that, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So we played high school together, and I didn't start playing club soccer until I got to high school. And so the main reason, just because it was so expensive and I didn't have anywhere to get to and fro, so that's what kind of held me back in that area. But a lot of people don't know I never played varsity for Northmont. I never played varsity in general, but I played in college. And so when I got to college, I remember the coach, he told me, he was like, you're going to be like a reserve player this year, this and that. We may get you in the rotation a game or so, but, don't get discouraged, this and that. And I was like, okay, coach, sounds good. But in my head, I was like, that's not happening,
Yeah.
And I made a goal, and I said halfway through the season, I want to be starting. I don't care if I'm a freshman. That's what I want. And so I worked really hard to get to that point, and I did that.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. And so I was playing up into my junior year, and I had to take a step away, specifically because the politics surrounding the school that I was going to was a little too severe for a person like me, and I had to just kind of go into a different direction. So after that, I've looked at a couple semi-pro teams and had a couple opportunities to play with them and things like that, but I've decided not to. Either the opportunity didn't work out, or I decided not to go that route. And so I'm still training, and I'm still looking at some of my options if I want to decide to finish college playing, or if I want to just go ahead and go semi-pro and look at those options. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because from when we played, you're a genetic freak for soccer.
Yeah.
You're quick as hell. You can jump super high. Like, you're the only person that I know that can get up to get a head ball from a corner kick past the 6-foot people. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah.
So you have such good genetics as well as work ethic for soccer, and I commend that 100%. With that, have you ever not exercised or not gone and played soccer for a certain amount of time and see that affect your music?
Yeah, one thing I do find is that I need exercise in my life, regardless if I never played soccer again. It changes your mind, is what I've realized, because in that about year span of time from my junior year to when I started playing college, I wasn't really exercising or playing. I was kind of like, I got this offer, but I was just like, maybe I shouldn't take it. I wasn't in really the best headspace, and what I find is that in the periods of time that I haven't exercised or haven't trained, my mental durability kind of wanes a bit. Is what I find.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I can't go more than a week without working out.
Yeah.
After a week, it's like I'm going insane, and I'm angry throughout that whole first week of me not lifting it as well. But what about nutrition? I mean, you seem to be all there. Exercise-wise, what about the nutrition aspect?
So I always have liked ice cream.
Man, ice cream's so good, though.
Yeah, so there was a period of time in college where I was training for about 5 hours a day, every day, through the week at least. And so I would eat a big sundae every day, which is probably not the best thing to do, but I would do it for sure.
One thing I hear about a lot of NBA basketball players, you always see them on their Instagram, on Twitter, whatever.
Yeah.
They'll get out of their training, their workout sessions, and where do they go? They go to McDonald's. And one of the things that they actually use to justify that is like, hey, these guys are expending like ridiculous amount of energy that only that kind of food that has that much like carbohydrates in it can replace it. So maybe the Sunday, at least part of the Sunday, is okay. Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows,
maybe,
man?
Maybe so.
I was just asking because nutrition is a really underutilized aspect of performance training and getting better at your specific sport or exercise. So I was just wondering where you were at on that. But going back to the music side, so you have 2 singles out and you're dropping, and you have a video out as well, a music video, correct?
Yeah, so that's coming out on the 28th.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's coming soon. So I've been a little quiet since about the turn of the year, and what I've been doing is just creating some strategies and working on some plans to release music periodically throughout the summer, and I'm planning on using those singles to supplement the release of my album.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So going back to the 2 singles you have out now, Thin Line and what was the other one? Before. What was your mindset going into each of these? Because they're 2 drastically different styles.
So what a lot of people don't realize is that I have a lot of music just like in the vault that just done songs that nobody's ever heard that are completely finished, and what people don't realize is that sometimes I say, okay, it's not the time to put this one out, even though I made it like a year ago, and then I'll put it out. And so when I make the songs and when I release them, I'm not always in the same state of mind.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So with Thin Line, did you create that before the other single, or?
Yeah, it was actually around close to the same time.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so I've had Thin Line for about 3 years, and a couple of the guys who are part of my team, they're like, man, you got to put this out, this and that, and I was like, all right, you know what, I was gonna go ahead and do it and put it out, and so I did, and a lot of people really, really liked it, and I was kind of surprised because I've heard it a million times, they've heard it a million times, so it was kind of like old news to me, but everyone else really liked it and really enjoyed it, and it's one of my better performing songs. Yeah.
You talked about state of mind and music and just the effect that it has on it. Talk to us a little bit more about that. Like, give us like a specific. So, like with Thin Line, talk about your state of mind there.
So, that I would say when I made that particular song, it was for a project that a lot of people don't know about called "Say You Love Me," that I released about July 28, 2016. And that was a song that didn't make the cut, ironically, because it probably would have been one of the better songs. And that whole album that I put together, EP, was like me kind of reminiscing and talking about how I'm moving into a new direction in life, specifically in the lines of music. And it was before I went away to college and things like that. So that was kind of where my head was at. It was in a reminiscing type of mindset, thinking about some of the things that I've been through in the recent past and where I'm going.
Okay, okay. And with that, how have you leveraged your social media to help promote all this stuff? I mean, you have a pretty huge following on Instagram.
Yeah.
Your Facebook page is big from what I could tell.
Yeah. So what people don't realize is that, and this is kind of getting to the business side, and there's a lot of independent musicians that aren't successful, and the reason being is because they don't do their research. And if you look at these big record labels, whoever, the biggest artist out right now is, and these labels have millions of dollars to put into putting that artist's music anywhere. You know what I mean? Put it on the radio, put it all across the world in different countries. And when you're an independent artist, you have a much smaller budget. Even if you're one of the bigger independent artists, you're always going to have a smaller budget. And your business strategy will have to change. So me having 4,600 followers on Instagram, I think it's where it's at, something like that. Or if I had 10,000 followers on Instagram, it's a great thing. It shows other people that other people follow me and they pay attention. But as the business of Elijah Seabrook, I don't own those followers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Instagram or Facebook or YouTube owns those followers. So if I want to monetize those followers to help further support my music, I can't really do that without having their email or their contact information or having some form of direct contact with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a independent artist strategy should be more focused on sales and connection with the people who are already their fans. While if I was like a big artist, my only focus is having 1 million followers on Instagram, because that is what naturally people are going to continue buying, and that's what is going to promote my music more than focusing on the connection side, because I'm already so big.
So what have you done with that to increase your sales? What have you done with the followers that you have, your connections, to help increase those sales of whatever you may be choosing to sell?
So what I'm doing is I'm actually working on building a website, and what I'll be doing is having music on the website that is nowhere else.
Okay.
You know, and so people who do follow me, if they want to help support me, they will get access to that music, to those videos, whatever it may be, only through my website, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Only through me. Therefore, I can have that direct connection with my followers.
Okay.
And then, secondly, when I go to these shows and I perform around the city and stuff like that, I always try to have some type of content to give to the people who support me at the shows. So, again, that's to further that connection.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. With the shows, how many shows have you done? What has been your experience with those shows? All of that.
It's been great. I love performing. I love, just connecting with the crowd and stuff. I perform pretty much all across Ohio, for the main part, and I perform a lot of open mics here in the Dayton area, and so it's pretty fun.
Yeah, man. What kind of stuff do you do with social media when it comes to like specific posts or stuff to like draw people in, get them engaged with you?
So there's just a bunch of different strategies, and you'll probably find millions of videos on YouTube on post this way or that way, and this will get you this many followers and likes, or you'll see someone say 1,000 likes a minute or whatever stupid thing it is, and it really is just keeping it simple and keeping it professional. So you have to put yourself in the mind of the people who are looking at your content, and you have to ask yourself or physically ask them what they want to see and just give that to them. It's fairly simple for the most part. I would say. Yeah.
You ever like get involved with any of those gimmicks? You ever like try to do any of those cool stuff that those videos are telling you to do?
There are some strategies that do help to help bring more attention to your profile. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, anything that is like a get rich quick scheme, anything takes work. And if it didn't take hard work, that person's cheating.
Yeah, speaking of the get rich quick scheme, I was scrolling through Facebook, I think it was, recently, and I saw this post that says, huge deal going on. The secret to making $1 million on Facebook is now only $1 for the first 1 million people.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be the first 1 million people would give that guy $1 for him to say, "Hey, put up a post saying the first 1 million people get this secret for $1." I thought that
that's the definition of a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, that is literally a pyramid scheme. But going back to the music, nowadays there's a lot of radical honesty and not hiding the true side of yourself. Mm-hmm. Has there been instances where you did or did not put out a song because it wasn't honest to your brand or how you portray your lifestyle?
So my brand is the real ones, and as I build my website and continue to promote myself better, that'll be a little clearer to the people who follow me. And basically my business model is that I always want, and everything that I do underneath that brand is to stay true to me as just being a human being. You know what I mean? I am a man of God, I'm a Christian, but at the same time, I don't define myself by that. And I think too many people in the world, they try to define themselves by something instead of just being what they already are. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, it's like instead of saying, all right, I'm Elijah Seabrook, it's like, oh, I am Elijah the artist, or I'm Elijah the soccer player, or I'm Elijah the blank. And it's like, take that out and just you are who you are. And so through my music, whether people disagree with it or they hate it or they love it, I have to ensure that this is where I'm at, and I'm just keeping it real. You know what I mean? I don't curse in my music, specifically because my mentality is I want my music to be something that anyone can listen to, even like your son could listen to, for example, and you wouldn't feel kind of maybe shouldn't be hearing that or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I want to promote a message of positivity and progression.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a good message behind what you're doing, because I know what we're doing with this podcast is just being radically honest, trying to figure out what makes people get to the position where they are today. And I think that is so awesome that you're doing what you're doing.
Although we do curse a lot, especially Nico. Especially.
Yeah, the thing is, that's the thing. So many Christians are judgmental and do this and that, and I'm not gonna get too far into it, but my philosophy is like, if you do believe in Christianity and Jesus came and paid the price, then you look at how he lived his life and you model yourself after that. And so if a person comes to me and they're cursing like a sailor or whatever, and I curse sometimes, you know what I mean, I'm not a saint, you know what I mean, and I won't ever try to portray that I am, but I'm not going to judge someone or tell them they're wrong for just being or talking or being the person that they feel that they are, you know.
We can get into it a little bit though, because
Yeah,
I like I want to understand the philosophy behind it, because you know, like as you talked about, you're a rapper, you know, you're in this music space where the predominant, you know, amount, the vast majority, of rappers do curse, you know.
Yeah,
it's almost like a staple of rap, and of just like the whole like kind of rock and roll, like in your face kind of mentality. So just, I don't know, could you elaborate a bit on like how you why you decided not to go that route, not to curse?
There's a couple reasons. Can go back to listening to Logic growing up, and although he did curse in his music, he kind of showed me that you can be positive in music and still be successful. You can not have to talk about getting head and doing drugs every 5 seconds and still gain a following and still do what you love. And that's what I learned from him. And then secondly, within the Christian community, it broke me down, especially going to the school that I went to, and being able to deal with other people who are quote unquote believers of God. That really broke me to see how other followers of Jesus are how they act and how they go through life, and it made me make a vow to not be that way, you know.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, because they're very judgmental, and I think it's a big reason why a lot of people who would consider themselves a non-believer of Christianity have such a disdain towards Christians in general, and intolerance towards it.
Yeah, that kind of air of moral superiority that a number of folks of faith do walk with. Yeah, it's very disquieting, you know.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So you're making music, you're starting to make your moves. This album, you were telling me when you walked in, you got so many questions about the album. What's your reasoning behind the album? When's the album coming out?
Everybody was interested about the album, so I don't want to give a specific date because it's not done yet. But I'm shooting for the end of the summer, like around August. That's my hope. So right there at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall is where when I plan to release it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what kind of vibe does this album bring? Because you already have 2 drastically different singles. What's this album gonna be?
Yeah. So I'm not much of a singer, but I kind of like the melodic type of music, and when I was creating this album, I wanted to show a kind of the 2 sides of my art. And so I wanted to show the melodic side of Elijah, the kind of catchy tunes and things like that. And I also wanted to show a bit of my edginess and kind of the determination and fire inside of me through my music. And so I would say the album has a mix of both of those sides of me.
Okay. And what was your reasoning behind the album? What was the motivation behind it?
For me, the album's gonna be called The Real Ones, or A Real One, or some aspect of that. To kind of just be like, here I am, this is what I do, this is how I do it, now rock with me type of mentality. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I could keep releasing singles, but I wanted people to kind of get a full project of who I am as an artist, and before I continue to move forward. So yeah.
Okay. And with that, you said you have a team working with you.
Yeah.
How many people does that consist of? What do they do? I mean.
Yeah. So So that's and that's kind of what inspired The Real Ones, because the people who are close to me, they are the most down to earth people I've personally known, that just keep it real. You know what I mean? Just simply saying. And so that's what kind of brought that name up to me. And so we got my friend Arzi, that's what he goes by sometimes, Ezra. He helps me create all of like the Photoshop and any artwork that I want to put for the album, and photography. And my other friend Craig, they help me bring all those things to life. Then my producer Icicle, he helps anytime I'm in the studio, just helping make the art as beautiful as it possibly can, and bringing it all together.
Okay.
Yeah.
What have been some of the big bumps along your road of this album?
Writer's block. It's the first time I would say I've ever struggled with writer's block.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what have you done to try and combat against it?
I find that when you struggle with writer's block, you have to just kind of change your perspective. Too many times with art and other artists in general, they think, okay, the song has to follow this structure. But when it's art, you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't have to follow any structure. I don't have to make it sound any type of way. I can do what I want. And when I change my perspective to that, I say, okay, I'm just going to write whatever I want on this. And then it turns out to be nice, you know?
That's awesome. I mean, it is art. I mean, that's how you express yourself. There is no set guidelines for any type of art. So that's awesome that you have that look on it.
Man, I tell you, writer's block is so real.
It is.
It is so real. You'll just be like your creative juices will still be flowing. Like you're still like in the right space. Like, oh man, I'm so excited to write about this.
Yeah.
And I want it to go like this, but wait. What comes after is like it's so like real. Like you'll just, like you said, it's like a roadblock. It's just like it just drops an anvil on you, man. It pisses me off.
For sure.
Oh my god.
For sure.
So you're talking about the album. I'm really getting this vibe that it's like you got these big sexy singing hooks, real catchy, and then you come in on these verses and it's just like so like real raw.
Yeah.
What besides which one of the two that you mentioned you said was going to be on the album? I already lost that.
Oh, none thus far.
Neither. Excuse me. That's my bad.
I came out with a song on called On and On, a single.
Okay.
And another one called Me on YouTube. And I'm considering if I want to put On and On the album, because I originally was going to, but I decided to put it out a little sooner. So that might be, maybe not. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, but yeah, I'm basically asking, like, do you have a song that you have out right now that's like a good, like, sort of sampler plate, kind of like a tester or taster of like what this album's gonna be like?
Yeah, and so that's what this summer. That's what is in line for this summer. So
okay,
it's in the lineup.
I got you, man. Yeah. I got you. I'm real excited.
Yeah,
I'm real excited, man.
For sure.
Oh man, so what do you do? Is this just what occupies you? You get off of work, you get out of school. Do you just sit down and go to your music, or do you have other things in your life besides music that occupy you?
So I'm a big like family man type of person. I have nothing but sisters, and I love spending time with them. And so, which is probably usually weird because usually brothers and sisters don't get along very well, but that's kind of what I do in my spare time. I'm not a big like partier and going out every weekend. I'm either at work or I'm just kind of chilling with my fam and friends.
How outnumbered are you? By your sisters?
7.
7?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's insane, man.
Yeah.
I'm actually sorry. Are they all older, younger? Where do you fit in?
Right in the middle, man.
You're right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
7 sisters.
Yes. Right in the middle.
That okay. So when you were younger, that probably was rough. But now that you're grown, how old is the youngest out of all?
The youngest is my sister Lauren, and she just turned 10.
Oh wow.
Yeah. The oldest is 29.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So.
And what are you, 20, 21 now?
20, yeah.
Got you.
Be 21 in June.
Got you, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is insane. I have one sister, and I don't think I could manage having maybe another one, let alone.
Yeah, it's a bit hectic, but I manage somehow. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, go ahead.
How has having 7 sisters influenced your music style? Because obviously that definitely can impact a lot of things in your life.
Yeah. I know it's probably a little odd, but I would say I'm a bit of a feminist, because having other women who are that close to me and really being able to understand and see their perspective, it kind of has changed my perspective on women, as just being a man, and so I actually touch on that in some of my songs and some of the things that I do, that mentality of just how women kind of get the short end of the stick. And in every culture, in every country since the beginning of time, they've gotten the short end of this stick. And I don't think that's very right. You know?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's right for anybody to have the short end of the stick. Right. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
But me growing up with brothers, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where I'm like, oh, we got to go fight something, or we got to go just do something manly. But then again, I'm definitely my mom's son. Like I'm more of my mom than my dad, I feel. Mm-hmm. So I definitely still have that feminist sweet spot mentality. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I can relate to most sides of anything for the most part. Mm-hmm. But it's just being on one side and then seeing the other, especially in your case, growing up with 7 sisters, seeing what society has put on women in general. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's terrible. And again, same thing with the race wars and religion, people fighting over religions. I just think it's one thing to just keep us split apart when what we should do is just be together and be one person, you know, be in unison. But then again, if we do that, the government's gonna basically fall apart, because then they can't control their little factions, you know. Mm-hmm. But going back to the album, one thing I really wanted to ask you about with this album, or actually more like your music in general, can we use one of your songs as the intro to this podcast?
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure because anytime we have someone music related, I want to at least promote their stuff at the beginning of the
for sure
of the podcast.
And not just send it your way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sweet. So going back to you, I want to know, what are 3 big trials and tribulations that you've gone through in your life?
Mm-hmm. Well, the most recent one is, I would say, being at the school I was at. Wasn't a lot of black people there, and it was just a rough community. It was kind of my first experience being within a Christian community on a day-to-day basis, and I didn't like it at all. I would say my mindset as of lately that recent trial has shaped that. Yeah, for sure. Then going back, because I used to be a stupid kid, and I get in trouble at school all the time and stuff like that, and almost got expelled from school in high school, and just being dumb. And I would say that period of time kind of helped shape me, and I was like, I had to go to this like program for like, cause I was suspended for like almost a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I had to go to this program in school where I just had to go after school for like 3 hours doing my homework and stuff. And most of the time I was by myself, because during the day my parents were at work and things like that. And then when the evening came, when anyone would be around, I was working. And kind of having that time of just being in my own headspace, it kind of showed me, it kind of let me know what I could do, because I became more focused in that period of time in my life, and it's been like that ever since. So,
Okay.
yeah. And then, I would say maybe the first tribulation, I'm going from the most recent to the earliest, would be kind of how I grew up. Not having any real male role models in my life was a struggle, and it just, even my dad, I don't really speak to him now, and it's something that still kind of pains me to this day, which is another thing I touched on in my album. Um, it's I don't think that that young men should grow up without any type of male role models in their life. Even if it's just a coach or somebody, they have to have someone they can look to on what it means to be a man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about, touching on the second trial you mentioned there, what role do you think just the friends you had around you, the people that you had around you, what role do you think they played in getting you into that place in your life?
I would say, like, some of the friends I had, always just smoking and drinking, and just that mentality. That's like the most important thing in the world, is just smoke, get high, and talk to whatever girl you holler at next, and this and that. And we are a product of those who surround us, is true, but we make that choice to be in that type of environment. So in that period of time, I was like, I have to change my life. I was like, if I keep going down this path, I'm never going to be anybody. I'm going to be a loser ultimately. And I said, I don't want that for me. And I had to make a lot of hard decisions along the road, of kind of, just taking a step back from a lot of situations and a lot of people they didn't really do anything wrong to me per se, but they weren't what was best for me in that period of time. And so I had to make a lot of hard decisions, and still making hard decisions, because when you decide you want to do something, it's a daily choice. If anybody tries to tell you, oh, it's just this one God sent moment that I decided I was going to be this way and never look back, that it is true, that may have been the catalyst, but eventually you're going to run out of steam, and you have to make the hard choices always. So
yeah.
And then going back to your very first trial with your whole father situation, how has that molded you for your mindset for when you become a father, when you become a parent? Or has that sculpted you to the point where you don't want to be a parent because of how bad that situation may have been for you?
I would say it kind of showed me what things I need to do, or at least what not to do. Again, I just keep honing in on the consistency, because I wouldn't say that he was just, I never even knew him, because he was there from time to time, but he was very inconsistent in my life, which led to me being very disappointed, et cetera, et cetera. And I would think that when I have a son of my own, that I have to make sure I'm in the type of place where I can be as consistent and set up an environment that is consistent. Because without consistency, a lot of things go wrong.
Yeah.
It just,
yeah,
it does, yeah.
Completely agree and understand.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I personally have one more question for you. What is one or a couple big things you could tell up-and-coming artists on how to better succeed in this music industry in this day and age?
I would say research. You have to be a thinker, and as a artist, you are a business, and the people who consume your music don't realize that. They just only will care about your products, which is fine, because that's fine. But as the artist, you're gonna have to be a business, and if you do want to get that big record label to sign you one day, you have to let them know that you're a sound investment. You know what I mean? And so you have to be able to conduct yourself accordingly. And then secondly, keep making music. you have to consistently put out content to people for them to actually follow you. You put out one album and then disappear for 5 years and put another one, people will forget about you, especially in this day and age. And then third of all, I would say stay in your own lane, because we're in such a global market today. It's easy to compare yourself to what another artist is doing, what somebody else is doing. Just, you have to, even if that's one person who listens to your music or a million, you have to be faithful and be true to those people who enjoy your music. So,
wow,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
On that same vein, a good piece of advice I once heard was, don't compare yourself to like everybody else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Compare yourself to who you were yesterday.
Yeah.
So that way you get that like incremental growth as life goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the first trial you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
so chronologically, I guess the most recent. You talked about like just being in that space. You said this was your first time being in a completely like Christian school sort of environment, and you didn't like it. Could you just talk about a little bit about like what happened?
It just, with a lot of people, they can't see past the tip of their nose, honestly, and in the Christian community specifically, and I actually touched on this on my album in a song called Trumpet Day. And so I don't know if you guys are familiar, but on the second coming of Jesus, you'll hear trumpets and this and that.
Yeah.
So that's why I named it that. And basically in the song, it's just like, I'm just saying I have to take a step away from this. And I'm just like, on that trumpet day, I'm only can hold myself accountable, and I'll have to answer to the decisions I made. And so a lot of Christians in the Christian community, they think that a physical building is the church, but you and I are the church. And whether you're the Jews or the Gentiles, and just to give you a little bit of like background information, the Gentiles were like the commoners, or the people who weren't necessarily believers. And so fast forward to 2019, whether you're a Christian or non-Christian or whatever, I'm here to just be a good person to you and to love you the same way that I love God and God loves me. And I did not see that in that environment. I felt very judged, and I saw how hypocritical it was. These people would lift their hand, they'd be praising to God and this and that, and then go do this, that, and the third on the weekend. And that's cool if that's their prerogative, but then they would judge the next person for doing exactly what they're doing. When I actually got to see it and analyze it, it deeply troubled me, and to the point where I was like, I don't want this, and I can't be a part of this anymore, And some people don't agree with that, but I would say don't define me as I'm a Christian. Define me just I'm a man of God that loves you the same way I love myself.
It really seems like there's some sort of conflict there between the idea of you being a Christian and then also this like idea of like a Christian society where like people in that Christian society, you have to live this kind of way.
Yeah.
But Christianity, like you said, it's about you. It's about your judgment day. It's about your relationship with God and the way that you conduct yourself and the way that you treat people. Yeah. It's not about society. And too many people really try to get this whole like top down approach to Christianity. It's bottom up. Yeah. It's good person across the board. Then you get to that good society, not the other way.
Yeah. And so it's just like, if everyone is focused on loving, and if you break down the whole Bible into two things, like everything in two things in a nutshell, is love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love the next person as you love yourself. And if you do those two things, then you'll be all right.
Wow, we can end it there, can't we?
Yeah.
I've been Marcus.
No,
plug what you need. Plug your social medias. Plug the upcoming album. Anything you want. Plug whatever you want.
Yeah. So you guys can find me at Elijah Seabrook. That's ElijahSeabrook. Anywhere on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and just thanks you guys for listening.
Hey, no problem. I'll have all those linked in the show notes. Here you go, Marcus. Now we can do it.
Oh, yeah.
I've been Marcus.
I've been Nico.
And this is Porch Talk. Thanks for listening.